For this next panel, I am so excited to introduce the next two panelists because I am big fans of both for different reasons. Please welcome to the stage Dr. Albert Bourla, CEO of Pfizer, and Sumi Somaskanda, Chief Presenter for the BBC.
But we can dance, maybe.
We can. I'll let you in on a little secret. We were bothering backstage.
Hey. All right.
We can't. Check if it's on. I can do so. 1 second.
I think mine is very loud and yours doesn't work.
Yes, no.
Julie. Nossa, dei uma tropeçada na minha palavra ali, mas tudo bem. Bora.
We'll get this sorted out, I promise.
And this is, there we go. I think you hear me now.
Yes.
Yay. We promised to bring a little bit of joy and positivity to the stage, as Madame Gandhi did as well. Albert, it's such a pleasure to sit down with you. As we saw just before we came out, innovating for a healthy world. I think that's a great jumping off point for our discussion. I just want to start with where Pfizer is right now. All of us lived through COVID. It was a paradigm shift for the world. Obviously, it was an accelerator for Pfizer and for your industry. Things have changed since then. And I'm interested to know, where is Pfizer headed and looking at in the next 5 to 10 years? You are now looking at, from what I understand, a portfolio of cancer medicines. How does this fit into where Pfizer is headed?
COVID for us was an opportunity to demonstrate to the world the value that life sciences brings. And we are very proud for what we were able to accomplish. And as you said, it's in the past. So now looking ahead, I wish we can save the world once more.
How are you planning to do so?
I think everyone should try in the areas that we feel that science is mature and we have ourselves capabilities to make a difference. And for us, the choice is cancer. Most of our efforts right now are going into the battle against cancer. And when I say most of our efforts, I'm speaking about capital, scientific minds, my time, people's time. It is all devoted to find way better cures for cancer.
I'm sure every single person in this room has in some way been touched by cancer. What is the outlook for some of these therapies and medicines in addressing some of the cancers that affect our world today?
I'm very optimistic, and I'm very optimistic because for cancer, we know a lot of details about the biology of the disease. Yeah. We know in very big details what causes every single cancer in the world. And that's the big thing to know. We don't know it necessarily for Alzheimer's, right? We have hypotheses. But for cancer, we know very well. And when you know, then you can aim your solutions towards what you know. And I think not only Pfizer, but so many institutions are running right now trials. There are thousands of trials in reality. And I think we will have not suddenly the cure, but what we will have every quarter, another medicine and another medicine and another medicine that will expand another year and another year and another year the life of people that have been hit by cancer. So eventually, I think within the decade, for most of the cancers, we should be able to make them more of a chronic disease. So you can live with your cancer as you were able to live with your diabetes.
That's certainly a hopeful outlook, something we can all look forward to. I want to ask you about new technologies. A big part of what is driving the industry is, of course, investment in new technologies, including artificial intelligence. That's something that you're working on. Tell us how Pfizer is exactly working with artificial intelligence in its workflows in generating new medicines and therapies.
I'll give you one of the most characteristic examples of using AI, not in the form of large language models, which is what we are experiencing now, but AI is, in the last several years, playing a pivotal role in drug discovery. but in machine learning. Our oral medication for COVID was developed in the first phase of every medication, which is the phase that you develop and you test the molecule into animals just before you go to humans, before you go to the first injection to humans. Usually takes 4 years. We did it in 4 months. And we did it in 4 months because instead of doing drug discovery, which means we synthesize millions of molecules and we try to discover which one works, we moved to drug design, which is that we design in silicon, in the computer, 300 molecules that we felt should work. And then we tested them for 4 months before we go ahead with a human. So that's one of the applications. But AI is touching everything that we do, from the drug design to how we do clinical trials, to how we manufacture our products. So it's going to be revolutionary.
Especially in increasing efficiency, as you said. At the same time, you know, there are concerns that a lot of us have about how artificial intelligence can be used specifically in healthcare. Think about large language models, think about misdiagnoses, bias. There are concerns about data and privacy as well. How do you navigate that at Pfizer?
Look, the artificial intelligence is a very, very powerful tool. And as every very powerful tool can do a lot of harm in the hands of bad people and can do a lot of good in the hands of good people. I think that the benefits that humanity can get from the use of these technologies outweighs the risks. We need to be cognizant of them, and we need to make sure that we have regulations that protect all of the things that you just said, particularly from the hands of bad actors. But at the same time, we should create the incentives, and we should create a network that will mobilize and incentivize the good players to use it for the good of humanity.
It's also about building trust, isn't it, among people who are healthcare consumers and users. I found it interesting, you said that you're not worried about AI technology delivering results. You're, quote, more concerned about if people will embrace it. What did you mean by that?
It is that AI, as you said, requires trust from people. So it's not easy for someone to get an advice from a computer than if he gets an advice from someone that he knows, for example. Or if someone finds out that this medicine was also developed with the help of AI, they may trust it less than if they see the faces of the scientists who developed it. That's not something new. Every time we have a new technology, there is a phase that the users, in our case patients and their families, needs to develop the trust. And that will come, I think, by time and with the demonstration of all the good things that we can have.
Let's get a quick show of hands. How many of you would say you would trust the use of artificial intelligence in the healthcare industry right now? Just to get a quick. That's a pretty good number. I think, if I can tell, that's about 50-50, maybe a little bit less, but it's.
I see a bit more.
Oh, maybe I just don't see up there.
You see the glass half empty, I see it half full.
That might be the case. That's the journalist and the CEO. Let's talk about social impact. Can you tell me more about what Pfizer is doing to reduce some of the barriers that there are to quality and affordable healthcare access across the globe?
Well, it's very good that you ask across the globe, because there are very different things that you need to do in the US than you need to do in Africa or in Europe, for example, right? Let me start with Africa. Clearly, most of the low-income countries, they can't afford using the innovation even at very low commercial prices that are developed. So we wanted to remove this barrier completely out of them. So we created an accord that we call it Accord for Healthier World, and we launched it, actually Bill Gates was there when we launched it, where we offer to 1.2 billion people that they are living in the 45 poorest countries of the world, all our medications at cost. And when we say at cost, we define the cost not as, we don't load it with research, which is the big cost for us. We don't load it with legal, with administrative expenses. It's just how much it costs to make it and to ship it. And that's
for medicines is a very, very small fraction. So really, all of them they could afford. We did it first for the patent-protected medicines, and then now we do it for every medicine that we have. I think it is a very, very good step, but I think what this is unveiling, it is some other reasons of health inequity, which are lack of infrastructure or even cultural barriers. Let me give you an example. We spoke about cancer. Pfizer has the most prescribed medicine for metastatic breast cancer, right, in the world. We offer it at very low cost, right? But for someone to use this medicine, first of all, needs to be diagnosed. You need to have an MRI, you need to have mammographs in the country so that they can be doing it. And even if you need to convince the women to go to the doctor and examine their breasts, which in some countries it's not that easy to do. So unless you resolve all of these issues, just by offering the medicine, nothing will happen. So we start slowly, country after country, to work with other partners, for example, companies that are doing this type of equipment, and with the government over there on site, that we educate the doctors, we educate them in how to diagnose, how to treat, and on logistics, how to store. It's not the same it's not like storing a glass when you store a high-tech medicine or you transfer it. There are specific rules that you need to follow. So we educate them all of that.
It's a holistic approach. I know we're just running out of time, so I'll ask you just one more question. We were talking backstage about Pfizer marking 175 years. Tell us or share with the audience here a bit about how Pfizer will be doing so.
Well, Pfizer was founded in New York 175 years ago in Brooklyn. They were two cousins, Charles Pfizer and Charles Erhard. They came from Germany. They had an idea to do a startup at the time. And they took a very bitter parasiticide that existed at that time. Pfizer was a chemist, and his cousin Erhard was a confectionist. So they put it in the caramel, so to make it easier to swallow. And this is how they started. They didn't have money to start. They went to venture capital of the time. They didn't think their idea is good, so the Pfizer father gave them $2,000, and the rest is history. Good investment, I think.
Yeah, pretty good investment indeed. Albert, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you.